but then I'm gonna go for some beers tomorrow night with a friend. So
I'm chilling with my buddy down here. Welcome, everyone. It is the Saga of Dice podcast. We've got a special guest with us tonight, Andy Sellwood. You've been on the channel before. One of the
yes,
founders of our local group, Warp Dice. The creator of the local Facebook page, which really helped jumpstart our local community here. TO extraordinaire. Everyone clap at Andy. Clap, 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 clap. Uh, so tonight we're going to talk about the Blades of Khorne, the new battle tome. It's very exciting. Even I'm getting into it. I've never been a Khorne guy, but as you can see, I'm chilling out here in the realm of Khorne with my buddy Fred. Um, horrible claps. Claps, Randy. That's good. Thank you. But first, before we get into the book, we got a couple of like little pieces of news and whatnot. There's the rumor engine we got here. Did you check this out, Andy?
no, I never look at the rumor engine.
I do every week, and I actually enjoy it. I like to speculate. Okay, now I think I'm pretty sure it's a Tyranid thing, but I'm gonna guess it's Deepkin because I want it to be Deepkin. I want it like it's tentacles. There's like an armored tentacle, and then there's like some other little tentacles, right? So I'm gonna
When did
guess
it come out? When did that come out, Rob?
this was released today.
Oh,
So yeah. So and like lately, what they've been doing is they've been releasing these rumor engines that are more uh, like like the time period in between the release of the rumor engine and the actual model has been really short, like sometimes like a week. So and Tyranids are obviously coming with 10th edition, so that does seem like the most logical sort of um,
yeah.
guess.
I mean, it looks. It also could be Idenf Deepkin.
That's what I'm hoping for. Like I love
Yeah.
Tyranids, favorite 40k army, but like man, we need some new Deepkin. Uh, we need some new Deepkin love. You know, even if it's just like another stupid warband. You know what I mean? Like whatever. I'm hoping what they do though is like whenever the next book comes, and Deepkin is not the oldest book by any stretch, but it is one of the older books now. I'm hoping that they give it a little bit of love. A few extra models, not just like a stupid hero or something like that, but we'll probably just get a stupid hero. Yeah. So there was this, which was cool, and I know we mostly talk about Age of Sigmar, but they did show these new Lictor-like models for our Tyranids. As a
Right. Yeah.
They're called Von Ryan's Leaper, and they are freaking gorgeous. Like, wow! If this is what we can look forward to for this line, it's going to be awesome. I'm assuming this is going to come in the starter set, but they're just gorgeous. They're not a replacement for Lictors either. I guess, like from what the article was saying, they're like a different unit that's similar in style, and
Mhm.
they hunt in packs or something like that. So it's kind of cool. But yeah. Anyway, uh, should we
Yeah.
should we get on to some Khorne goodness, Andy?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Okay, so I need to put down this. There we go. Okay, Blades of Khorne. Now, Blades of Khorne have changed quite a bit. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
Um, what is your like, overall kind of general feeling on the new book?
Yeah, I was thinking about that question quite a bit, and I think what I would say is that I've gone through three phases of of my initial impressions. So
Depression. This sounds like the stages of denial or whatever it's
yeah,
called.
no,
Depression.
I mean no, I'm not. I want to be upbeat. So I would say that my very first impression was, wow, this is cool. There's having the demons are kind of better, and having like the Bloodmaster that can cast prayers. That's a really cool addition. And then having a command ability where you can make or a command trait where you can make one of your bloodthirst as a priest is really cool. And then the 2-up save on mighty skull crushers.
Yeah.
So I was immediately I was like, oh wow, this some of these new rules are kind of cool for the army.
Yep.
And then I had that game with you,
Uh-huh.
and I was like looking at the units in the book, and I was like, where are the heavy hitters? Like
Where
where in this army is something that can really dish out some damage? And there are some damage dealing units, but you know, not they're not kind of like, I would say we have some kind of B tier damage dealers. Maybe A if you get the right buffs off and everything, but
Okay.
mostly I would say we got B tier kind of damage dealers. And so I was a bit sort of like, I was like, okay, this is going to be a tough army to play. And we had our game, and I was like, nah, I don't know about this. They seem to be just like the old Khorne, where they just get kind of run over. But then I think now, thinking about like the blood tithe, and particularly like the murder lust and some of the movement shenanigans.
Mm-hmm.
I think where I'm sitting at now is I'm realizing that this is a play on a knife edge kind of army.
Okay.
And um, the tournament I was just at, the Keiko Death, there were two Khorne armies there.
Uh-huh.
And
Were you guys playing with the new rules?
yeah, yeah. So the new it was the new Khorne book.
Okay.
And one of the I didn't end up playing either of them, which was kind of a shame. But one of the guys I chatted to, who brought kind of like a typical kind of bloodthirster Scarbrand kind of list.
Yeah.
I was chatting to him, and I said, like, how is the Khorne going?
Mm-hmm.
And it sounded like he was either, yeah, he basically said he was playing on a knife edge all the
Mm.
whole time.
Yeah.
Where he's like, he either things just kind of roll,
Mm-hmm.
and he rolls his opponent, or he gets kind of like his kind of poo pushed in kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And um and then I was chatting to Eric, who played the other Khorne guy, who had much more of a mortals list,
Okay.
like a ton of priests.
Yep.
And Eric was saying that like his army was really techy. It was just like always doing stuff,
Mm-hmm.
And so I think where I'm sitting right now overall is I see this definitely as a very techy knife edge kind of army that it's gonna take. I think it's gonna take me a while to really settle on a strong list, I would say, or something that I feel comfortable playing.
That's fair. It's kind of a shame. Like, you would think that, and I mean, I don't want to get into, again, like, I don't play the army. I'm just chilling out with Fred here in the realm of Khorne, but I'm not a Khorne player. I've never even owned one of their books, right?
Yeah,
But I did play you, and I have listened to some other people talk about it and whatnot, and we've chatted about it, and it is unfortunate that Khorne isn't more of just like run forward and kill things. Like, that's kind of
no,
their theme. You know what I mean? And it feels like they should just be able to move quick and kill things really well, but also die kind of easy, right?
yeah,
Because Khorne cares not. So it feels like it does feel a little off theme. Um, I guess, but we'll dive into it more.
yeah, yeah,
I am excited by it, and I do like most of the thematic things that are going on in the book. And we'll talk about them as we come up. Like, but so there does seem like a lot of very interesting um, tech and whatnot here. And I feel like though they should probably be a simpler army, they already do have a lot of real Johnny types that like to play this army. So,
mhm,
because like the previous book was very Johnny, right?
yeah,
So maybe that's why they're sticking with it. I don't know, but you
yeah.
know,
I mean, overall, I would. This is not an army I would give to a new player to.
no, no, yeah,
It's not a point and click. army.
No.
But I don't want to give the I'm overall I'm excited because I think there are some game mechanics in the Khorne book that is just kind of really fun to
Right.
do.
Right.
And so, I think overall it's going to be a fun army to play. I think, overall though, I think you're just going to have to be really careful as a Khorne player to not leave yourself in a position where you're just going to get like annihilated
Right.
if you kind of don't position well and don't use your. You have to be just thinking. You have to be thinking about movement. You have to be thinking about how to shut down your opponent.
Mm.
Um, you
It's
know,
it's not like a it's not like an army where you can just like where you can kind of like drink and like you know
yeah,
what I mean, casually have a game. It's like one of those things where you're like where you're using a lot more of your mental capacity. It might be an army that's more tiring for some people unless they get a lot of practice games in. It reminds me a
hmm
lot of Deepkin actually. Funny enough,
right,
we just talked about Deepkin where it's like melee based, quick, it dies easy and it kills okay. You know what I mean? Like it's far from the killiest thing, but yeah, you're always positioning is super important. Like making sure you remember all the right buffs and all the right phases and
hmm
but again, thematic and cool. So yeah, there's a lot to talk about. I do
yeah,
have the battle traits up.
yeah,
Um, could you explain the
yes,
yeah the and I'm just gonna grab something to drink because my throat is kind of dry, but I'm in the vicinity, so
okay, yeah, cool. So, yeah, so you get to choose one of six slaughter hosts, which I guess we'll get into eventually. But the main one of the really cool things they added was this that they changed the Locus of Fury. So now your demon units get a 5-up ward save as long as they're more than 8 inches away from enemy units and they have not retreated in the game, right?
so once
Uh,
they retreat once, whatever unit retreats, they lose the 5-up shrug um, for the rest of the game.
yeah, no, and so what I was thinking about this one is this is where and we'll talk about some of the movement shenanigans. This is where you could use potentially some movement shenanigans to, make sure that you're far enough away that you're going to benefit from that 5-up ward. Because I think this will
Yeah.
be really important for like keeping your bloodthirsters alive.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're only on a 4-up save,
Right.
16 wounds. So let's say if you're going up against KO and they come in with all that shooting, um, if you have some kind of movement shenanigan to get further away
Yeah.
and survive, then this could be really useful.
For sure. And so I guess part of it will be bubble wrapping things, like you're
Yeah.
bubble wrapping your important demon units that you want to keep alive and well, safe. Um, it's a cool rule though overall. I think it might have been better if it was a little less than 8 inches, just because you know what I mean? Like you can march forward within 8 inches with just one unit, and then you just start blasting, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So, but I guess this also, encourages like a more of a mixed list, not pure demons as well. So, there's a few different things you can do, I suppose. But yeah, anyway, it's still overall, it's a really cool rule. I was really excited to see this when I first
Mhm.
saw it. Cool. Okay, so that's the Locus of Fury, right?
Yeah. And
And
then
then,
there's murders
uh huh.
so that's for the demon side of things, and then for the your mortals for the bloodbound, there's the murderers to the last, which is
Yep.
the kind of these murder rolls. So basically on a every time a mortal dies on a 5-up, um, if there's an enemy unit within 3 inches of the model, then they take a mortal wound. And if it's a hero that dies, then you roll 3 dice, so you get three murder rolls. This one, I don't think my initial impression is I don't think it's as strong as people think it is, but I just like maybe you're just going to pip a few more mortal wounds on somebody that crashes into you.
Mm-hmm.
It could be really big if something is fighting you and then nearly dead,
Yep. Yep.
and so this could be the difference between something one model surviving or something dying,
Yeah.
it could be important. But again, I don't know. I think I think overall a lot of your models are going to die to shooting.
Right.
So which this
And
won't obviously play into.
and even if they're in combat and they get shot, they're still like, well, it wasn't a melee attack, so
Yeah,
I don't get. Unfortunately, my hands are tied. Um,
yeah,
yeah. Uh, Overall, it is cool. I think like, and I have seen some interesting ideas based around using this, and I think it was with Blood Reavers or whatever
mm,
the naked guys that run around that are cheap.
yeah. Blood Reavers, yeah.
Blood Reavers, right? Okay. Some ideas with them. A lot of bodies that are cheap, and then it gets you blood tithe points as well, like MSU. But
Hmm.
but then again, we're talking about something super Johnny, kind of complicated. You know what I mean? Like it's anyway. It's a cool and very thematic rule, right?
Yeah.
And then we've got Hatred of Sorcery. Each time a friendly Blades of Khorne unit is affected by a spell, cast by an enemy unit, or the abilities of an endless spell summoned by an enemy unit, make a Hatred of Sorcery roll by rolling a dice on a 5-up. Ignore the effects of that spell or endless spells abilities on that unit, and they should have bolded and you receive 1 blood tithe point.
Yeah. So this is actually my favorite one.
Me too. Yeah.
Because this is where you actually get to interact with your opponent
Mm-hmm.
in their hero phase. And, you know, there's going to be cases where, somebody's like, I play Sylvaneth and you've got like the mortal wound bomb from which maybe we won't see now as much with the change of Arcane Tome, but that, you know, that let's say that thing hits like 3 or 4 of your units, well then you're probably going to get at least 1 or 2
On
of
average.
those rolls,
Yeah.
or even more if you spike high.
Exactly.
And so you could be, just getting, well, first of all, your units are not getting hit by the spell, and
Yeah.
then you're getting that blood tithe, right?
Exactly. So it kind of creates an interesting choice in your opponent where they're like, do I cast the spell or do I, you know, not feed their blood tithe points? Because
Yeah.
if you spike, like if you spike, um, there's I think even in our game I was playing with the Malevolent Moon, right?
Yeah.
And I was sending it into units, and on a 2-up it does D3 mortal wounds, and then is it even worth it? Like I'm maybe doing 2 mortal wounds, right?
Hmm.
And then you got a bunch of blood tithe points, and I was kind of like, maybe this actually isn't a good idea, you know? In the end, I kind of ended up using it anyway to just see if I could, but you could just end up giving them because anyway, we'll go into it in a minute, but it can go both ways in that regard, and it's
Hmm.
super fun. It's like there's the KB model with the Belcha banner, and he
Hmm.
just gives like an aura, Holy Within, of just the 5-up ignore. It's not like they get anything else if you make the 5-up. You just ignore it, and you got to pay points for that. Whereas this is just an allegiance ability that you always get. It's super thematic. It's super cool, and it's pretty powerful too.
Yeah, and there's ways to improve it as well in the book.
Really?
And, you know, I, I, but yeah, I do love and I get a blood type point.
Yeah.
Like that's just really fun. You know.
Well, and the blood tithe points are very powerful as well.
Yeah.
One of the more
Yeah.
powerful things in the book, probably. Um,
Yeah. And then we've got Legions of Chaos. So the usual you can do 2 in every 4 are Slaves to Darkness, but they have to be Mark of Chaos or Khorne keyword. And then 1 in 4 can be from Beasts of Chaos.
okay.
Uh, they can't have Zinch, Slanesh, or Wizard keywords, and they gain the Khorne keyword as well. Um, so what I would say is, I do play Slaves to Darkness like as a
You
kind
do?
of on a minor basis,
Mm-hmm.
and um, I think there are certain units that you may want to use like Varangard because the scroll is so good.
Yep.
Um, but the fact that you're not going to benefit because your units won't have the Blades of Khorne keyword, and pretty much that's everything is pretty much tied to Blades of Khorne keyword.
Well,
So you're not going to get the benefits. I don't
no.
know if putting these coalition of slaves of darkness in
Yeah.
is going to be that great. I don't know the Beast of Chaos army as well. So um, I think this is one of those things where we'll wait to see what lists kind of float to the surface at tournaments and see. Well, we might start seeing some interesting ideas for what people could throw in there.
It's true. Um, this is one of those rules where I almost don't feel like it should even be an allegiance ability. Like it shouldn't even count towards their allegiance abilities, just because it's like they've kind of removed most like reason, or you know what I mean, like for taking slaves to darkness.
Hmm.
Like they're not very eclectic anymore. They're quite what's the word, like based on putting things together, right? Synergy based, right?
Yeah,
And so yeah, like if you're not getting any of the benefits from the slaves of darkness, and when you bring them over, you're not getting any benefits from the Khorne book, then they have to be a really really good war scroll on their own with really good points to
yeah.
even consider it. And I just don't see. Horrible says they got to fill up the page somehow. Yeah.
I mean, I would have been happier if they would have said something like 1 in 4, and but then they would gain the Blades of Khorne keyword or something like that. That would be
Exactly. Yeah.
way more fun.
They already have to have mark of chaos on there, like, or Khorne, right?
Yeah,
So like, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess you know what? I guess there are a couple of things where you could do like cultists, right?
yeah.
Like you could I could see taking like
As long as they have the Mark of Chaos keyword.
well, I think they would, because they're undivided, right? The cultists are all undivided.
I may have to check, but no, I don't think all cultist
Or
units
maybe
are
not
run.
all, but like let's say the Corvus Cabal or
Right.
the Unmade. I think they would have like this is just an example. So you could use them as like a screening unit just to have them move forward. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, anyway, I guess that's sort of the um, yeah, that's the idea. It's
Yeah.
Horrible says that's pretty hard to balance. All of a sudden, you've got a huge pool of units. No, no, that's absolutely true, and that's kind of where they failed in the past. So
Yeah.
you could make the argument that this is just better. Like this is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's just like, every now and then, like you've got a gap in your army list, and you're like, I'll go look at the Slaves Darkness book and just see if there's something in there
yep,
that I can put in.
absolutely.
Like there was a guy at the tournament who had a Soul Grinder
Uh huh.
in his corn list, right? And so it's a Slaves to Darkness unit, and it's a fairly cheap big monster, kind of fun to put in your corn list, right?
Absolutely. I just I agree with what you said though, on the whole, in that maybe if they could have just got Blades of Khorne keyword, and it would only be on certain units. You know what I mean? Like you could even say like only if they're already Mark of Khorne or undivided or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
Anyway, whatever. It kind of remains to be seen. You know what I mean? It's one of those things that
yeah,
remains to be seen, but it's definitely not the most powerful allegiance ability. Like I guess we'll say that
no,
much, right? Okay, so then we are going on to uh, is it command traits next?
the Blood Tithe, I think.
Okay, I got stuff in kind of different order here. Okay, so the blood tithe, like the BP cost table thing, is that what you mean?
Yeah,
Cool.
so
Okay.
yeah, so basically, you get blood type points when
Yep.
your units die or their units die, which is like not much of a change, but now potentially getting more from the hatred of sorcery rolls. And so what's cool now is that you spend these at the end of each hero phase, so either yours or your opponent's,
Hmm.
apart from the spell eater curse, which you do when an enemy wizard casts a spell. Um, so this is where again things get quite techy because, as most people have kind of found, the best one is actually the first one, which is Murderlust, and essentially allows you to reposition 3 units in your phase and her phase, and
And
you could use
that's
it to tie up like their units, right? So this and use it to help them fail their battle tactics. You could move a unit off of an objective
mm-hmm.
in your turn, and then in their hero phase, you can move the unit back onto the
Oh, I might be looking
objective.
at the wrong thing. I have the Blades of Khorne like summoning table thing that you sent
Oh,
me.
okay. So it should be the Blood Tithe reward table.
I don't know if I did. You send that to me?
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. My bad. My bad. Sorry,
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah.
Um, so so you spend these at the end of your hero phase. Oh, geez, sorry. I loaded it up for me. I didn't load it up for the chat here. Okay, 1 second. There we go. Okay, um, so Murder Lust is
Bloodlust is pretty amazing. So
and it was in the old White Dwarf article, right? Or something similar?
I haven't seen anything like this
Oh,
before.
maybe it was. I mean, there was some kind of movement-based shenanigan you could do for. Anyway, this is what it is now. Up to 3 different friendly Blades of Cord units, more than 3 inches from all enemy units, can make a D6 movement. Essentially, roll separately for each unit. They can finish this move within 3 inches of enemy units. Like that's really good. Yeah.
Yeah. So so a scenario I was thinking about is, it's your enemy, it's your opponent's turn.
Yeah.
They're just about to kind of do certain movements to either crash into your units or get into better position or take objectives or whatever it is,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden you've got these like little cheap Blood Reaver units in front of them,
Yep.
and you you reposition them with Murderlust, and you get them to within 3 inches of those units, your enemy's units, and now all of a sudden they're stuck,
They
right?
can't even move.
So
Yeah.
they have to retreat though,
They have to
right?
retreat. No, totally. That's what I meant. Like they
Yeah,
can't move where they want to be. So this happens in the at the end of the hero phase, right?
yeah, either yours or your opponent's.
Or
Yeah.
your opponent's, right? So that you're like, okay, I know you what you want. I know you want to get over here, so I move them up. And what I thought about too was you could move them within 9 inches, so that you could, or no, they would have to actually move then. But you could kind of force them to make it so you would be able to do a redeploy as well.
Oh, I see.
Um, because like you know what I mean? Like if you know that they're gonna want to get they're going to want to stay outside of 9, so you can't redeploy, but they've got like a 3d6 charge or something like that. You could move them in. I mean, there's so many things you can do with this. It's not just that. Like you can Catacross can't do his like best command ability in the game thing if he's in combat. So like there's just like little things like that you could do to right. They can't be within 3 inches already, so you can like kind of turn off this ability to a certain extent in the previous turn theoretically.
Yeah,
Um,
but
but
I mean,
yeah,
I think it's quite strong because movement is where games are lost and won, and I think
absolutely.
yeah. So you can either prevent your opponent from doing what they want to do, or you can use it to like just get that final bit of movement to get onto an objective.
Yeah, yeah,
That they thought they could take an objective easy, but then you just nudge your bloodthirster back onto the objective, and you've got, then now they have to try to get 5 more, 6 models on there or something, and
well, exactly.
so
But not
yeah,
only that, you can use it if you can do it in your own hero phase. You can just basically add d6 to every unit, and they're not even running. It's basically you can give them all run and charge.
yeah, exactly, yeah. So if it's okay, now is your opportunity to, let's say, get up there and get in their face, then you could use this to do that. Yeah.
I mean, this kind of highlights how it's so much more of a thinking 40 chess kind of army. than most, where you're just like, you know what I mean? Like the most powerful thing is moving three units, yeah, up to 3 units, d6 inches. But it's
Mhm.
really cool. It is really powerful, but it will take, you know, a strong brain to use it
Yeah.
to its fullest for sure.
And
Um,
I would say the rest of these are like, okay. If if for some reason you do end up with a ton of blood type points and you're not going to use them for Murderlust,
yeah,
then you know, like getting +1 to your hatred of sorcery until the end of the battle is pretty amazing. Um, getting one
yeah.
extra rend for the rest of the turn is pretty good, but
Well,
you're blowing a lot of points to do these things.
it's true.
Um,
But and if you, I mean, there are ways to play into it. Like if they have MSU or you have a lot of MSU, you can get
yeah,
up there pretty quick, and then like yeah, like if you're adding, because if you add one to your hatred of sorcery rolls against like a Zeech army or like a Lumineth army or something like that, where there's a lot of spell slinging going around, then you're kind of feeding into your economy of blood points, where you're gonna start
yeah,
getting more for your money, and you're
yeah,
also saving your units from the spells themselves. What
yeah.
up? What up, Dan? Thanks for joining us. We're talking about Khorne tonight.
Hmm.
Um, what are the other Blood Tithe rewards that you think are really good?
Well, I mean, obviously the canceling the spell,
The
which is
Rising
easy
Hatred.
to
Yeah.
the spell eater curse.
Oh,
That's
sorry. Spell Eater
phenomenal.
Curse. Oh,
Spell eater curse, yeah.
okay. I'll read that out. So it's only 2 blood points, right?
Hmm.
And you can spend blood tithe points on this reward for your opponent's hero phase immediately after an enemy wizard has cast a spell, but before an unbinding attempt is made. That spell is automatically unbound. Do not make an unbinding roll. If you spend blood tithe points on this reward, you cannot spend any blood tithe points at the end of the same hero phase. That is amazing. Like that's
Yeah, I
incredible.
mean, yeah. So you're not going to be able to do your murder lust at the same time, but if they're
No.
casting a really important spell,
Yeah.
you can just stop it, right? And that's
And
that's
how,
really nice.
how does that interact with overwhelming force type of deal with other wizards, where it says like this cannot be unbound? Do we know that?
No, I think they're going to have to FAQ that, I think.
Right? It's the unstoppable force meets the immovable object kind of deal, right?
Yeah,
Huh.
yeah,
That I wish they had clarified in that rule, because I don't think we've ever seen anything like this before.
yeah. But
Um,
I mean, but in
oh,
regard to,
that's not true. There's the Stormcast wizard, the
yeah.
bonsai guy,
Oh, yeah.
right? He or she,
The
uh,
Knight Incanter.
yeah, the Knight Incanter, he can automatically unbind something. So I guess we do have a. I guess we do probably have a. Oh, it says if a spell cannot be unbound, then I don't think you can use this roll. I think that's true. Horrible.
Okay.
I think that's true, because I think that's the way it works right now with the Knight Incanter versus like Teclis,
Okay.
when he just, if he casts one spell and says this is it.
Right.
Um, but Dan says being able to move in either hero phase and can end in combat for a BP is insanely strong. It absolutely is. Andy was actually saying this is the probably the best thing in the whole book kind of deal. Yeah, it's really really good. It's dope. It will take, it's not a smooth brain thing to use though, so which is
No.
cool, but it's not for everybody. Like I wish I had simpler armies. my my
Yeah.
simplest army is Soulblight Gravelords, and you know what I mean.
I mean, I think this is one of those things where I'm gonna have to play like 10 games with Khorne and then come back and talk to you about like how I actually spend blood tithe and
Totally, yeah.
you know
Well,
whether it's just murder lust every
that's
every hero phase and that's it.
yeah, yeah, that's it. Like that's all I use them for, and then if I have enough to use both Murder Lust and other things, then maybe I'll do that sometimes, right?
Yeah.
I could see that. Like I yeah, it's kind of a good side to the reason. I mean, part of the reason why we don't do these reviews right away is because, you know what I mean. Some of these books take a bit to assimilate, and we don't get them early.
Yeah.
So So we haven't had it very long, and so you were kind enough, even though you were going into a tournament where you were playing Sylvaneth, to come on the channel and try them out in front of everyone, and then also to come on. And this is still fairly early, you know what I mean? And the
Hmm.
meta hasn't settled. Did we get an FAQ? I think we did, right?
For Khorne?
For Khorne? I don't think it
Maybe
was
we did.
impactful if we did, but
Yeah.
um, I'm Dan says I'm glad Khorne aren't smooth brain anymore. I mean, they weren't smooth brain in the last book, were they?
Um,
I
no, I mean, I think the problem with the last book was that eventually, um, there was only really one list that kind of worked, which was
yeah,
the Scarbrand Boomthirster kind of list,
yeah.
um, so basically what you did with that list was you built up your blood type to the point where you could get the free move. You protect Scarbrand, and then maybe with the Bloodthirster and Fetid Fury, and in that second edition book, you could you know run something up to within 6 inches, and then for a command point, you would get the 6 inch pile in, and off you go, right? And
Fair.
that was so maybe after a while that was a kind of a smooth brain
I
thing to
guess
do,
it
but
became rote at the very least.
yes,
Yeah. That's
yeah.
interesting. I mean, I didn't play them, so forgive me, Dan. I don't know much about I played Yuo quite a bit, but um those are that's the entirety of my experience with them, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. That's exactly what Dan was trying to
Yeah.
say. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. My apologies. I'm not too. Anyway, so back to the Blood Tithe reward table.
Yeah.
Oh, Dan says it's rare you saw anything different. Yeah, for sure. I mean, Andy actually tried out some really interesting things on the channel. It's just they just didn't really work super well because you were kind of pigeonholed, which is unfortunate to say the least. Um, is there anything else on here that you're liking the look of? Like once it gets up to you know, like 7 blood tithe points, it's like how are you? You know what I mean? Like, I don't see. I like heads must roll, but it is 6 blood tithe points. You
Yeah,
know?
I just can't imagine a scenario where I've gained 6 blood tithe. Like I think a lot there would have to be the stars would have to align where,
Yeah.
I've got 6 blood tithe and I've got a whole bunch of melee units that are just ready to
They're
do
primed and
that,
ready, totally.
primed and ready, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, maybe I'll use this and just,
You know what I was
um,
gonna say though is it's like I almost feel like you never use heads must roll unless you have 7 blood tithe points, so you can use murder lust as well and keep one for your opponent's hero phase. You know what I
well, you
mean?
can't. Oh, keep one keep one for
For the
murder
next
lust
one.
for the next
Yeah,
turn. Yeah.
yeah. But so then if you've only got 6, and you're facing anyway. Um and like 4 is like pick one Blades of Khorne unit within 3 inches, they can fight.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so you
like
could
kind of middle of the
you,
road.
well, so you could in your opponent's hero phase, at the end of your opponent's hero phase,
Yeah.
if you've got a bloodthirster or some other really tank, sort of hard hitting unit
Yeah.
in combat, then you could finish off your opponent's model, or unit before they get to do anything, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
I think that one is, I think in our game I had a chance to maybe use it, and or maybe I did use. Yes, I think I did use it with the bloodletters
Right.
on the squigs.
I think you did. Just real quick, thank you, Dan. Dan just donated $5 to the stream. Very, very
Nice.
kind. His message is: when the bad moon is red, does that mean it's a bloody bad moon? So the gits get all the crazed because of Daddy Corn. I could see that. As Legolas said, what's it called? The oh dang it, Red Moon or Red. I can't remember. Dang it.
Like
Something
blood
about
blood has been spilled this
blood
night
has
or
been
something.
spilled this night. That's all I can remember. I can't remember. The Red Moon rises or something like that. Anyway,
Yeah.
dang it. Well,
Well, maybe we should look at the summoning
the
table.
summoning. That's what because Horrible was just saying at a certain point. if you're into like 6 tithe points, you're probably looking at summoning anyway, right?
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, and I haven't really. I think in our game I was looking at this table because I had a bunch of blood tithe. I think I had 8, and I was debating whether to, you know, a blood, 20 bloodletters coming back. That's like 40 wounds,
wow.
you know.
Wow.
So
Wait.
that's actually
Which one is that?
that's the bloodletter host. That's for 8 points. A bloodletter host with 20
Right.
mobs.
Wow. Wow.
Um,
That is 8 blood tithe points. But
yeah,
if you watch that, like that battle report, your bloodletters were the most killy thing in the army, right?
yeah, yeah.
Huh. Um. Wow. Yeah. But that is a lot. Like only 2 more and you get a bloody bloodthirster. Although
Yeah.
that's way less wounds and it's probably way less killy as well. So maybe you just take the 20 bloodletters.
So now, here's a question, and people have been posting about this, and I'd
Hmm.
love to know if anybody knows who's watching the show. Is that if you summon a Bloodmaster,
Yeah.
does he get a prayer?
Oh, interesting. Sorry, real quick. Horrible said 5 though. I'm not sure what you mean. And then Dan said, uh, oh, 5 though in a pinch. I think he's saying 5. You could just use 5, so you can just take one, use 5 blood tithe points, and then you get one blood letter host of 10 models. I think was
Yeah,
what he
that's
means.
pretty good.
Yeah,
10.
yeah, and
That's 20 wounds.
for sure. Yeah, 20 wounds, and they're killy even in tens. Dan
Yeah.
says uh, I should tell everyone to go bid on his auction. He's having an auction right now in his local group. Let me know, Dan, if I can say the name of it. I'm assuming I can, but you know what I mean. Dan's got a Facebook group. I've been bidding on a set of endless spells for Eric Zeech thing. There's some really great deals there. Really great deals. So check it out. Okay, he says, of course, it's called Team Death and Destruction, I believe, on
Hmm.
Facebook. Check him out. He's got amazing deals on there, including some Cruel Boy stuff for you, Andy. It's to
Oh,
help the clubs get mats. So
oh.
very cool. I will, yeah, check him out, okay? And tell him I sent you. Anyway, before I've lost the plot here a little bit. So what do
So
you?
my question,
Yes.
and maybe Dan might
Oh,
know
right.
this. So if I summon a Bloodmaster,
Uh huh.
does he come onto the board knowing one of the prayers,
I
or
I don't think he does because I think this has already been settled in Nurgle because
oh,
they are
okay,
constantly summoning, but they are GC. Like they do get the keywords.
yeah,
Um, oh, you get the generic ones, so you get to do heal or
oh, I see.
yeah, yeah. I don't think you get to pick one though because also like if you get a free Vermin Lord, I'm pretty sure you can't get like flaming weapon.
Right, right, right.
So I'm not anyway, correct us in the chat if you guys know if there's like an FAQ or something. And if not, if no one knows, then we'll just ask Matthias like we normally do.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. I just saw people talking about it online, and I was like,
Mm,
I was very confused, and
it is a great question. What do you think about summoning a bloodthirster? Like, would you ever do it?
I would. I mean, I think that's really fun, right? I mean, but
Oh yeah.
what I think what I'll say is, if I'm going to play somebody with Khorne,
Yeah.
and I'm using mostly a mortal army,
Yeah.
then the question becomes, do I bring all my demon units for
Yeah.
summoning? You know,
That's a
like
yep.
do I bring my like Wrath of Khorne Bloodthirster just in case I get 10 blood type points?
I that's the reason um I don't like playing summoning armies because like if you're at home, Sure. You know what I mean? Like you just walk over to
Yeah,
your shelf and pick up the thing. But like when Seraphon used to just be like summoning was the only thing that they did before they got a new book in 2.0. It was just brutal. Like I hated playing them because you had to just bring a bunch of models that you're never even going to use just in case you have the right amount
yeah,
of points to summon them, you know? Um, yeah, that's another thing. That's another kind of reason to maybe focus on the other um, table where you're just going to get these amazing effects. Like your whole army having more rend is really awesome, you know?
yeah. And I know that in the last, even in the last book, a lot of the high level Khorne players very rarely summoned. They mostly spent the blood tithe on the on movement or
Exactly.
fighting in the hero phase.
Exactly. Yeah, Zeech and Nurgle still have they can only kind of summon. They don't have the ability to do, chaos points and then spend them on cool effects rather than summoning. And I think
Yeah,
this is so much better. I think the Slanesh and Core ones are way better for that reason. Uh,
yeah,
yeah, Dan was saying he just doesn't think you're gonna really be summoning things for the most part. You're probably gonna be sticking with the Blood Tithe, the other effects.
yeah.
Uh,
I think so.
I beat you to it, Dan. Excellent, excellent.
Yes.
Um, sweet. Okay. So now is it the command traits?
Yeah. Let's look at the command
Okay,
traits.
I will try and find that. Artifacts, command traits. What do you know?
Yeah.
So we won't go through all of them, but what is the one, or what are the ones that you are looking at using?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody is pretty excited about Firebrand, for a corn demon,
Okay.
and
Um,
because then,
whoops. Oh darn. I changed the channel on everyone. Um, sorry, I can't see it. Could you read it out actually?
Firebrand, yeah, it says this general becomes a priest. If this general is already a priest, they instead know one additional prayer from the blood blessings of corn.
So it's basically Arcane Tome only for this army, only for priests. Like it's Arcane Tome for priests, essentially.
Yeah, yeah, but
Neat.
it's so it what I the way I've been thinking about this is, and I think most people have, is like putting it on like your one, maybe the one bloodthirsty you're bringing, which
Yeah.
might be the unfettered fury one.
Right.
Um, or I could
Whew.
see people putting it on like a blood master, so that then the blood master knows two prayers.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think they can only still only do one of the prayers, but having the choice of two is pretty cool.
For sure. I mean, there is a lot to be said about putting it on a bloodthirster and then and I don't know how good, and we'll get to it in a minute, obviously. I don't know how good the prayers are in this book, but let's say that they're average, or even slightly better. Imagine, like, because you can take other priests, put prayers on other units, and then you put this on your bloodthirster, and then you put a curse on him, and then you fly him up. Like if you take the bottom of the turn, you get him within 9, right? And then if you roll the
Right,
double, like you throw curse out there, and then man, your stuff is so killy then, right? Because Khorne does have a lot of attacks. You know what I mean? Like imagine having curse on whatever, like whatever really hard to kill unit you're talking about, and then you throw 20 bloodletters rather into this unit. You know what I mean? That you've cursed. It's just like, oh dear God, like there's going to be so many mortal wounds going around. It's just an
but
idea. But
yeah, I
mhm.
mean,
Uh-huh.
I sadly I don't really see any of the other command traits as being terribly exciting. I mean, on the mortal side, the High Priest of Corn one, which is where for that's for a mortal priest.
Is that's on the bottom one? The
Yeah,
bottom table? Okay. So
yeah.
it's
So it says in each of your hero phases, your general can chant two prayers that they know instead of one.
okay.
Um,
But then but it doesn't mean they can take an extra one.
right. So if you put this on a slaughter priest,
Yeah.
then the slaughter priest could do the base prayer on their war scroll, which
Yeah.
is quite good, the blood boil.
Oh, I see.
And then they could also do one
Hmm.
that you've given them from the table. So
The only problem, though. Okay, so first of all, before I forget, earlier, um, Horrible was saying I can almost guarantee people will be summoning bloodletters in droves. And then Dan was agreeing and saying he'd probably bring 20 bloodletters and a bloodthirster to each battle, and that's a great point because that like if you just bring that the things that you
yeah.
want to summon if given the opportunity, then it's not like you're bringing everything under the sun. Like that's not so bad. So yeah, and then Horrible says you can also take a prayer enhancement and give your priests extra prayers. That's another idea as well. But having said all of that, there is one reason why I don't like putting your command trait on like the like a small guy priest. So right now we do have Galatian champions, but that's not going to be around forever. So presumably they're going to be able to be picked off again in the
Hmm.
next season, right? So that being the case, then your general is super easy to kill because most Khorne heroes are not rocking a particularly high save, right? Does he have a
Hmm.
4-up save?
Um,
The
yeah,
priest.
the slaughter priests don't have a very good save.
Is it 4-up or 5-up?
Um, I'll I'll just check, but
And
it's not
no shrug, right?
right.
It's kind of like the squig
Yeah, they're
bosses.
on a 5-up save.
5-up save exactly. So like it's kind of like the squig boss thing. He went from 80 points to 100 points recently. We haven't talked about all that stuff, but it's just like we're talking about like a 4 wound hero in that case on a 6-up save. No mortal wound shrug, right? No bodyguard saves to be had, and it's just like okay, your general can be snuffed out like that, right? You lose your command points, and then the other thing I don't really like about taking that kind of character as your general, like if you're taking a bloodthirster anyway, I would make him a priest, right? And then it also opens up the battle tactic of this one's mine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I think so. Here's the only thing I would say is if you're gonna do that, you have to remember that bloodthirsters are only on a 4-up save, and so you know, again, like I mean, for this current season that we're in right now, at least if it's a Galatian champion, they're gonna not be shot at unless somebody has sharpshooter. But with the bloodthirster, he's gonna be he's a target. He can't avoid being shot at. So I just think you're gonna have to
Mm.
play somewhat cautiously with your bloodthirster,
Yeah.
like
Yep.
early game at least, and then maybe commit him later. Once
Mm.
your screens are gone and it's getting down to it. That's when maybe you would then push him forward and do that. That is a really good point. That battle tactic is, you know,
It's
it's really
important.
easy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And it seems like something that we are continuously having. Dan says there's something that gives a bubble of no ward.
Oh, that is a artifact.
Oh, it's an artifact. Aha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great for the thirster to have. Do you is it okay? Dan really wants to join us. Is that okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I will see if I can figure out how to invite you. What? Why don't we? So, are we talking about the command traits?
Yeah. Maybe we'll look at the artifacts.
Okay. So I will move us on to artifacts while I see if I can figure out how to invite Dan. Okay. So we got the artifacts. Oh, you're saying no, no. Okay. Uh, something to be said. Eggs in a Horrible is saying there's something to be said about not putting too many eggs in one basket. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, when you
Yeah.
talk about Gits points, yes. Okay, yeah. If we talk about Gits points again, you have to be a part of it, first of all. And second of all, yeah, that was the whole squig herder thing is another mess of a thing that I don't want to talk about right now because I'm in a good place. I'm in the realm of Khorne. Okay? It's
Yeah.
very happy here because everyone is being murdered.
Yeah.
Okay, so artifacts of power. So we've got them divided into two sections as pretty much with everything else lately. So you've got one for demonic units, and then you've got one for the mortals, right? Um,
Yeah.
what do
And
you think is the like? First of all, which is your standout for overall? What's your like your number one pick? What's your first artifact you pick every time?
yeah, I think it's the one that Dan mentioned, the Argath, the King of Blades, which
Okay.
basically ward rolls cannot be made for units within 3 inches. And having
Whew. Wow.
like
That's
having just
good.
played a tournament
Yeah.
where I played up against trolls and I played up against Nurgle, and watching your opponent rolling 5 ups like they're 2 ups
Yep. Yep.
is incredibly frustrating.
Sure is. And there's better word saves out there now. Like
Yeah,
there's some insane word saves out there right now. Um, yeah, but like, like you want to get rid of Scragrot with a 4-up ward. You rock in there with the Bloodthirster with the Argath, right?
yeah.
And he's gonna die because he has a terrible save and only 6
Well,
wounds.
but also what I'm not just thinking about it in terms of that, but also what I'm thinking about is combo charging.
Yep.
Something that's really hard to kill.
Yep.
So if your Bloodthirster gets in there on the side of it, and then you hit it in the front with your Bloodletters,
Yep.
who will do a bunch of mortal wounds,
Exactly.
then and then they don't get the ward save on the other wounds as well, and suddenly you've increased your output by a huge amount.
And not only that, it actually can deter people from wanting to even attack. Like for example, like the your Bloodthirster is kind of a linchpin,
Yeah,
right? So if you have something like that on your linchpin that you don't want the enemy to kill, they don't really want to go in there and fight something that's going to turn off their wards. So it's going to make it less attractive of a target as well.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
But I mean, I think there's a few other ones that people might go for. I think the Halo of Blood, which gives strike first, is pretty awesome.
the Halo
Uh,
of Blood. So
yeah,
so your first one I think is the best pick. I think
I
Argath King
think
of
so.
Blades is absolutely the one that I just take every single time. Um, sorry, what was your second pick here?
Halo of Blood.
Halo of Blood. This is also a demon artifact. It's just the strike first effect applies to the bearer. That is
Yep.
also cool. That is also really good. Yeah, you could put if you have a second Bloodthirster, I would put it on that. And then it's like, especially if it's like a Boom Thirster or something a little more aggressive,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um,
So I mean, on the mortal side, I mean, um, let's say if you take a Lord of Khorne and Juggernaut that has a 2-up save, and then you give him the
ooh,
Crimson Plate,
totally,
which is a 5-up ward, that's pretty.
absolutely.
He suddenly becomes pretty tanky.
And how many wounds does he have?
I think. Let's see. He has 8 wounds.
8 wounds. So 8 wounds on a 2-up, 5-up is amazing. And here, one second.
But I mean, he's already got a 5-up ward against mortal wounds caused by spells and
Right.
mortal wounds caused by the abilities of endless spells. So I
Yep.
don't know if that's a
But
bit of a waste.
if if he's a linchpin, then I could see doing that for sure.
Yeah.
Um, the names Oli says I would for sure take Halo of Blood first. Is that the strike first? It is, right? Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it depends. So in our game, you put it on that Blood Letter Champion guy. I forget what he's called.
Oh, the
Um,
Bloodmaster. Yeah.
the Bloodmaster, right? And but I don't remember what happened to him.
So you when you battle shocked your squig,
Right. I
you
was.
rolled your 2 ups and you put like
I'm a
I
jerk.
think
Yeah.
like 7 mortal wounds into him from like 8 inches away or something.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like, God, that game was just like it could not have. Yeah, I got pretty lucky with some of that stuff. So yeah, you attacked my squigs. I was like, how did I get around the strike first thing? Because I don't have anything that turns off strike first. But that's right. You killed my squigs, and then I zapped your guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What a jerk. I still think it's a great artifact though, especially like if you had it on something like a little bit more. like so the Bloodthirsters are maybe not as killy as some people would argue that they should be, but they're pretty killy, right?
Well, I mean, so it could combine. There's one of the sub factions,
Yeah.
uh, which is I think Baleful Lords.
Okay.
Then was it no? Sorry, pardon me.
Well, do you want to go into them
I feel
now?
like there was one. I feel like there was one of them that this could combine with well. But
Should we
anyway,
go into the different sub factions then?
maybe look at the prayers first and then the
Okay.
sub faction.
Okay. Sure. Okay. So I'm gonna find it, everyone. Just give me a second. So prayers, you said next. Prayer scriptures. Okay. Okay.
So I think these are all really amazing.
Um, okay. So we've got. Okay, they're all really amazing. Hey.
I mean, maybe one of them is not, but I think five of them are really
Out of six,
great.
that's amazing. Um, okay. So then, let's see. Maybe we'll start with what's your favorite?
It's this is tough. I
That
mean,
good.
I would
Should we
say,
just go through them all then? I'm fine with that.
yeah. I mean,
Okay.
blood sacrifice is, just like it was in the old book,
So
where
just to be clear, these are not
yeah,
spells. So you can't interact with these. You can't shut them off or
no,
do some kind of anti prayer. So we'll start with blood sacrifice then.
yeah.
Okay.
So, essentially, you do D3 mortals to one of your units, and you get a blood type point.
That's freaking
Um,
absolutely incredible. It's a value of 4 though, and it's
yeah.
a range of 8 inches.
So you
And
get a reroll if you're near
oh,
the skull altar.
wow. So you could just do that. You could just
I
have a
mean,
unit that chills out with a unit of blood reavers, and that's what they do.
yeah,
They just rack up blood tithe points. They sit on a back objective, um, and with a reroll, then that means you're getting it 75% of the time, assuming you don't have some kind of like terrain or whatever. You know what I mean? That gives +1 to prayers.
yeah,
Um, that's freaking insane. Yeah, I would. That's probably my number one pick, just because Blood Tithe is so freaking good.
yeah. So I mean, you could. I think the way you would use this is you would try and do it maybe turn one, so then you have a blood type point to use Murderlust right away, and then you could use that in some combination to kind of alpha your opponent,
Yep.
or you know basically get a free move and get immediately in
And
their face.
it's so cool because you could use this in your hero phase, and then at the end of your hero phase, immediately use the blood tithe point that you just racked up with
Yes.
that prayer. That
Yeah.
is incredible. I love it. I don't think there any more explanation is needed. It's just clearly really good. Okay, so then let's go on to Killer Instinct.
Yeah, and this is again one of my favorites. So basically, on an answer value of 3, so it's even easier. You get to make a move with that unit. Um, and I think I attempted this in our game and I failed it, but
And it's on a 3 too, ironically.
it was a 3 rerollable. Anyway, you know that's really strong. I really like this one. Again, you could use this to sort of alpha your opponent or
Right?
try to, you know, take something down, or just the repositioning shenanigans, right?
Yep.
Again, that
Yep.
sort of 40 chess thing where where you decide, hey, look, I'm gonna um, reposition in a way that's going to um, mess up my opponent. You could do it in his because you could do it in their turn,
Yep.
right?
You're gonna want lots of
Sorry, pardon me. This has to be in your turn, right? So this is in your
for
hero
sure,
phase.
but
So you're going to be able to move, and then,
you could
you know,
move with Killer Instinct, murder Lust with the BP you got from Blood Sacrifice, and
right?
then move again.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's insane.
yeah,
That's insane. Man, that's so good. And as Horrible said, this is why he thinks prayer enhancement could be a really good choice for like a warlord battalion kind of
yeah. I think
enhancement.
so.
That's yeah, I'm agreeing with you more and more, Horrible. Okay, Bloodbind. Is this still? Are we still on the good ones?
I think this one's good.
Okay.
I don't know. Again, it kind of gets back to that 4D chess thing because you're making your opponent make a move of up to 8 inches with
Oh, I
one of
see.
their units.
So we should explain what it does first, just for the people at home, because I,
Yeah,
I don't know what it does. So it's got an answer value of 3, a range of 16 inches. Pick one enemy unit within range, visible to caster, and more than 3 inches from enemy units. Your opponent must make a move up to 8 inches with that unit. All of the models in that unit must finish that move as close as possible to the chanter and can finish that move within 3 inches of units in your army. No, that's really really strong. It's like a more reliable version of the Beast of Chaos thing because they're rolling 2d6, so average on 2d6 is 7, right? Whereas this is like you could just do the scorpion, get over here, right? And then they just move 8 inches. That's really cool.
yeah,
Uh,
um, uh, yeah. So it's they must finish as po close as possible to the chanter and can finish that move within 3 inches of units in your army. So, yeah, I mean, I think this one I'll have to think about still. I don't know if it's one I would take just because I don't know if I want to lean into that movement shenanigan stuff fully.
it's I could see that, and I mean it depends on how many priests you have, right?
Yeah,
But yeah, if you Dan says if you are a good general, the movement capability in this books are insane. It really is. It is like Andy said, very. It's not easy to accomplish, but um, it could potentially be very very powerful. Like you could move um, like a unit away from their bodyguard, right? So
yeah.
that their bodyguard doesn't apply to them anymore. Like there's so many cool things you could do with this. Now, I don't disagree that Blood Sacrifice and Killer Instinct are like my first couple of choices so far, but yeah, wow. Oh yeah, like O says, this can also move units off of objectives. That's another thing.
Right.
I didn't
Yeah.
even I didn't
Yeah.
even clue into that. That's a great point, O. Thank you. Yeah.
So, and then you've got Unholy Flames,
Mm-hmm.
which has an answer value of 4 and gives your unit one extra rend until the start of
Cool.
your next hero
Oh, that's
phase.
so cool. A range of 16 inches, by the way, and you have to pick a Blades of Khorne unit wholly within range. So that's not so bad. At
I
16
like the
inches,
ranges with this. Like 16 is actually quite good.
it's really good. Blood Sacrifice is the only one that's not really good. But then you've probably set up a unit to do that. Like
Yeah.
that's what they're there for. So that's not bad.
And it's hard to
Man,
sacrifice a unit that's 16 inches away, right? So
yeah, and like an extra pip a rend, and you can't even like if I had a spell in my army to give an extra pip a rend, that I would be like all over that, right? Um, but a prayer is even better because it's just like you don't get to do anything about this, right? And you could. What's the range of the your terrain piece, the Blades of Khorne terrain piece?
you have to be wholly within 8 to get the reroll.
Okay, so then you could just have them on the bare edge of it, and
Yeah.
then it extends 16 inches from there. So you're talking like a 24-inch range of the whatever it's called, the corn oven thing. I don't know what to
Yeah.
call it. The blood altar? Is that, did I make that up?
The Skull Altar, yeah.
Skull altar. Dang it! I knew it was blood or skull. I bet on the wrong corn thing. You don't even have to be garrisoned in it. Horrible asks for the skull altar, I assume.
No.
I does yeah. If it's got an 8-inch range, I assume not. Gits have the best version of that with the voodoo doll. That's true. I'm assuming you mean the Gobapalooza. Horrible says that's huge. Absolutely. O says also if you're on the altar, you double the range. Did you know that?
So you double the range for the setup of your endless prayers.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
But it doesn't double the range of just regular prayer, so it doesn't go to like 32 inches for regular
I'm pretty
prayer.
sure it doesn't. So
Okay.
it says when a Blades of Corn priest garrisons the Skull Altar, double the range of any prayers it chants to summon invocations.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. That's still cool.
Yeah.
Um, okay. So then, so that's really cool. Yeah, I don't. Oh, thought it was for everything. It's so easy. Like when he started reading that, I thought the same thing. I was
Yeah.
immediately just like, like yeah, that's it's really easy. There's some rules in books that I noticed that everyone gets wrong, like the Cruel Boys Big Yeller subfaction. Everyone, including me, thought it was like reroll hit rolls of one in the first turn, and then and then I remembered eventually, and and anyway, someone in the last battle report with Cruel Boys was just like, hey, you didn't reroll all your hit rolls of one, you would have gotten so much more, and I was like, actually, and I got, you know what I mean? It's a similar kind
Yeah.
of thing. It's so easy to just, your brain tries to read what it thinks is going to be the right thing. It's like a confirmation bias thing. That's why you need to have other people proofread your stuff, and you can't proofread your own stuff because you know what you think it's supposed to say. Anyway, um, that's freaking awesome. So far, I think my favorite is Blood Sacrifice, then Killer Instinct, then Unholy Flames, and then Bloodbind. But like you said, they're so good so far. What about Bronze
Um,
Flesh, Andy? How good is this one?
yeah, I mean, this is again another one that was in the previous book.
Okay.
Has an answer value of 3, and basically you get +1 to save. So it's like Mystic Shield.
Dang, that's
Um,
awesome.
I think it's really strong, particularly on some of your already high save units.
Yes.
Or stick it on your Bloodthirster.
Oh man.
Um,
Yeah.
you know, so then he's going to be a bit more survivable.
Yeah, it's nice because Khorne doesn't have access to magic, especially after this most recent FAQ. So they really do need something that gives them a Mystic Shield like quality, right?
Yeah.
Totally agree. Love it. Uh, is that better or is Rend better?
I think it depends what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And this is why it's good if you could have, like, ideally, if I was going to get access to, like, say 2 of these, I'd probably go Unholy Flames and maybe Bronze Flesh.
You
If I
would.
could get
What do you,
if I could get access to 3 of them, then maybe I'd stick Blood Sacrifice in there.
really? For me, Blood Sacrifice goes in first because it's just like I get one every time. Well, not every time, I guess, but like 75% of the time, I just get another Blood Tithe.
Yeah, I see a point. Yeah.
And or so a game, roughly. So that
Yeah.
could be the difference between. Actually, if you get three more, that's the difference between 10 bloodletters and 20 bloodletters.
Yeah.
I mean, still,
And then the last one
wow.
is yeah, you Witchbane Curse, you pick an enemy wizard.
Yep.
At the start of the next hero phase, they're at -1 to cast.
Whoa.
And each time the unit attempts to cast a spell and that spell is not successfully cast, they take D3.
Wow. That's so good.
That'd be so funny to cast on like Nagash or something.
Nagash. Oh man, and then he zaps himself in the crotch on top of it.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, though Nagash is always +3 to cast now,
Yeah, that's
so
true. Anyway, I'm
but
just
but he's casting so many spells. You're not wrong either, right?
yeah.
That's pretty dope.
I mean, that one's pretty situational, I think.
It
You
is,
know.
but like if you've got enough spell, like it's like a horrible set. If you're adding an extra spell onto everyone, if you take the spell enhancement, like throw it in there, and then because it's
Yeah.
there's no range on it, it's just visible, right?
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, you could put that on the blood sacrifice guy,
Yeah.
and then he's just like looking across the battlefield, and I choose you.
Yeah.
That is, yeah, these are all really good.
I
Like
know. I
the
know.
I think that's the worst one, like among any of them. But like that's still situationally awesome,
It
right?
is. It is.
And it just makes you nervous. Like if you've got a caster on, like a couple of wounds, right? And
Yeah.
you're just like, I need him to stick around, so I guess I just won't cast any spells with him. That sucks, you know. Like I did that in a game of Tyranids in 40k versus Grey Knights, and I had him kill like a totally unwounded hero, Greyfax, in his hero phase by using these tricks like this. So this is fun, and it's also very thematic. These are awesome. Love it. Okay, should we talk about
Let's talk
sub
about the
factions?
slaughter hosts.
Sure. Okay. So I will
And I don't
find
want to go through all
those.
these. Maybe I'll I don't think I sent you pictures of these.
Okay.
Actually,
Okay.
um,
So there are one,
there's
two, three.
six.
Okay, six. Okay. So how many of them do you think are attractive? Let's say
For me, I would say three
three. I
are
mean, that's a perfect amount. Okay. Let's go. Can you try and go in ascending order, like your third favorite to your second favorite to your first favorite?
okay. So I'd say my third favorite
Oh,
is the
and
Reapers. Yeah,
before we go on, Horrible says you could force D3 mortal wounds as well with a couple blood tithe points. So if you do that combined with this anti magic thing, you could literally have their magic user kill themselves like a 5 wound hero. It'd be easy to
yeah,
do. That's a amazing oh, like the auto unbind too. Oh yeah, you could use the auto unbind. So you could
yeah,
even, oh man, oh, that's so, there's so much tech there. Oh geez. Oh, and Dan says and the skulls. Oh my god. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so before I completely lose the plot, your third favorite was,
I would say Reapers of Vengeance. You
okay.
get +1 to hit for your demon units that target an enemy hero, and if you slay an enemy hero, you get one additional blood tithe.
Oh man, that's fun. Like if you're running a heavy demon army,
Yeah,
forget about it. That's cool.
yeah.
Okay.
Um, the next one, my number two pick, and maybe this is controversial, but I would say is Bloodlords, which is the one that I played against you
Okay. Now,
when we
what?
came
Why
over.
is it controversial? In what way?
Well,
Like
because I think a lot of people will look at Bloodlords and think it's really good. Basically, it's
this is the mortal one,
um,
right?
your Bloodletters mortal when they charge,
Okay.
fives to hit do immortal instead of
Oh,
sixes.
this
That
is the blood letter one.
so it's the blood. I mean, maybe it's not controversial to say it's in my number two.
Okay.
Um,
As long as
and
it's not your
then
last pick, I guess, because
no,
I was noticing that blood letters are freaking awesome as well. So I can see the argument that this is maybe the best one. I don't know. I haven't heard the other ones, but
I mean, maybe we shouldn't talk about best one because I think it really depends on what your build's going to be.
yeah, for sure.
Um,
I mean, well,
but
this is
yeah,
just your opinion. This is fun. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, let us know in the comments if you agree or disagree. Who cares, right? Like, this is cool.
So, so my favorite is actually the Skull Fiend tribe,
Okay.
which is if you make an unmodified charge roll of 8+ for a friendly Skull Fiend tribe Bloodbound unit,
Yep.
the strike first effect applies to that unit until the end of
Ooh,
the turn.
that's fun. And is that mortals and demons and everything?
No, just the mortals.
Okay. Okay.
And the other thing about Skull Fiend is that your Skull Reapers become battle line.
Those are those the guys with the chain axe?
No, that's Wrathmongers. The Skull
Right.
Reapers are kind of like they're sort of like the elite, like 3 wound kind of choppy guys.
Oh, right. You brought a unit of 5 of those, I think.
Yeah,
And they have like 3 wounds each?
yeah.
Right. Okay. Okay.
So I mean, I think maybe them being battle line is not a big deal because often you're going to bring lots of Blood Reavers and Bloodletters anyway. So this is an army where filling your battle line is not a problem.
No, never has been.
Um, but
Um
there could be some weird, you know, list variation where it would be fun to have like a whole bunch of Skull Reapers as your battle line, you know?
super fun, and there's it's not like there's anything that says that they can't, you can't take other things as well. I guess the downside to this one is it does not emphasize everything. It's like if you want to lean into mortals, you're going to go with this one, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
Oh
anyway, that
man.
I think those are my picks.
I think it really does depend on, like you said, on how you're going to build it, right?
Yeah.
Or what you own.
Yeah.
um
Because I just like the idea of, um, if you roll well with a bunch of charges, like your whole army could be fighting first.
well, it's true. I mean, if you remember the old Nighthaunt Allegiance ability, you had to roll, I think it was a 10 to fight in the charge phase,
Yes.
and you could turn it up to a 9 with now this isn't fighting in the charge phase, which is better because you can't all out defense and all that kind of thing, but it's still like incredibly strong. But and also you're talking about like 40% of the time you're going to get to fight first.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So then you can really pick your combats
yeah,
and yeah.
yeah, yeah, because like so Prince Vordry's War Scroll spell now is he gets to fight first, right? He gets to fight at the start of the
Right.
combat phase. So like I was like even just with one unit that's doing that, I was like this is amazing because I don't have to worry as much about which
Right.
one I'm going to
Right.
choose first. I just choose him because he gets to just go, and then you know what I mean. On you go. O says I love Bloodletters, but for 10 points more, Blood Warriors have a save of 3 plus and an extra attack. That's a great point. Now, I don't think Blood Warriors do mortals,
No.
right?
They do mortals when they do more mortals when they die.
Oh, right, because of what's that called again? Uh, the I don't forget what the
The
name of the
the murder roll.
murder roll. Thank you. Yeah, that's so. What they get two rolls each.
Yeah, they get two each. Yeah, but again,
That's
I'd
still
rather be
cool.
doing mortals when I'm killing things, not when I'm dying.
Um, I agree. That's true. I mean, are they good at attacking though, as well?
I don't like I personally, I'm probably not going to be putting many Blood Warriors in my lists.
Okay. They have two wounds each and
Um,
a 3-up save though. That's pretty good.
it's good, but I think they're good for sitting on a point.
Yeah.
But you know, as I say, I need time to try out some different lists, and
Fair.
back in the day, I took Khorne to a tournament, and I took a unit of 30 Blood Warriors,
Yep.
and they were fantastic.
Yep.
Um, they
I've
just, my opponent can kill us. So maybe that's a build. The 30 Blood Warriors, they're on an even better save now. You give them bronze flesh.
oh man,
Um,
30 of
you
them on
know,
a 2-up. Ugh. Gross. You could have
yeah.
them on a
So
1-up if you get the. Oh no, that is the prayer we were talking about, right?
yeah,
Still 2-up.
yeah,
60 wounds on a 2-up. That's
yeah.
gross.
So I was wondering then, rather than maybe talking about war scrolls, do we want to look at that list I sent you and just sort of talk through that, or
Sure. Oh, and then +1 with all out defense says horrible. Yeah, that's a great point.
yeah, yeah.
They also rally on a 4-up? No way. Really? Blood Warriors rally on a 4-up?
Uh,
Although rally has been greatly nerfed because of the most recent battle
yeah,
scroll,
I don't.
but still, like, get back 5, and you're like, okay. And
Right,
think
that's not
bounce
on their
back
war scroll.
mortals.
Maybe that's an artifact or something, but it's not on their war scroll.
Oh, I see. I see. Um, My last game, they shot and charged by they got shot and charged by 9 crypt flares, and then I brought the whole unit back because of Blood Secretor 4+ rally. Oh, Blood Secretor
Oh,
gives
the
them
blood
flat.
separator. Right,
I
right, right.
see. Very cool. Yeah, and I don't know if you're aware, or not, but they changed the rally now so that the max you can get is a total of 10 wounds,
Right.
which definitely changes things
Yeah.
quite a bit. But it's still like I don't know, like even if you're still probably gonna get 10 wounds of them back, and on a 2-up and doing all these other crazy things, it's still pretty good. Anyway, um, before we go on to the list you sent me, and I have it ready.
Yeah.
Um, I think it behooves us a little bit to talk about some of the different, like your favorite units.
Sure. Sure.
Um, and I don't have it ready, but you guys, if you have the app,
Yeah.
you can follow along at home because all that information is free in the app. So, um, yeah, what are some of your favorite units, Andy? And maybe you could tell us their stats or whatever makes them compelling to you.
Sure. So I think a standout is the Bloodthirster of Unfettered Fury.
Right. I
And this
remember
is
him.
this is what like one of those moments of irony because this is the first Bloodthirster I bought and
I know.
painted. I had it for years and it was like not really that great.
Uh-huh.
And then I eventually over time built and painted the other ones, but then now this one's back to being the best one. But anyway,
That's funny.
what really makes it compelling is the Beckon the Hunt's ability.
Okay.
So at the start of your charge phase, you can pick a friendly Blades of Khorne unit, Holy Bin 16, that's not a hero, so it can't be a hero.
Okay.
Until the end of that phase, that unit can attempt to charge if it's within 18, and
Okay.
you get to roll 3d6 and add um, those together to make the charge. So basically, you get a 3d6 charge.
And it's something that they hand out you don't need to roll, right?
They just hand it out
Yeah,
to
that's
one unit
really
that's
good.
that's not a hero. That's a really,
And
that'll be something that people will forget, I'm sure.
uh point of order, Andy, it's not pick the two highest.
No, you roll 3d6 instead of 2d6. Yeah.
So if you put that on a unit, I don't know, let's say something really killy, right?
Yeah.
Something mortal, and you have it in the right subfaction, then that means on average they're getting over 8 and they are
Yeah. So
fighting
they're
at the
fighting
start of the
first.
combat phase. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Which is what I've got in my list that I
Hmm.
sent you.
Hmm. So you're
Yes.
probably one unit per turn is gonna go for fight first.
Yeah. Exactly.
I like it a lot.
Um.
I like it a
And
lot.
and then I mean his stat line, like he's got 8 attacks, twos and twos if he's healthy, Ren 2 D3 damage. I mean, whatever. Um. I think he's I think he's worth having. As I said, don't throw him forwards
No,
early.
no,
Keep him back
right.
um, for
But
late a game when it's time to start sort of mopping up units.
but then he could be casting prayers if you make him a priest. You could make him fight at the start of the combat phase, or what was the other artifact you liked? Oh,
There's
turns
well,
off wards. Turns off
turn up
wards.
wards. Yeah,
Whew. And he can pick himself for the 3d6 charge as well. So he's fighting at the start of the combat phase and turning off wards, right?
yeah, and moves 12 now. What used to be 10.
Well, and bodyguards are considered to be a ward, so you could turn off bodyguards as well, right? I think that
Yeah,
works. Like, man, there's so many things you could do with that. That's freaking
yeah.
awesome. Okay. Um, what's another? And how many points is he? I know it's like 330.
330.
That's what I thought. But okay, cool. That seems very good for what you get for 330.
Yes.
What's his stat line like?
So he has 16 wounds, 4 up save, 10 bravery.
Okay. And then his attack profile, I meant. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. He has a missile attack
At
with his whip, 8
uh,
inch range,
okay,
4 attacks, threes and threes, Ren 1 D3 damage.
not bad.
And then his axe is 8 attacks, twos and twos, Ren 2 D3 damage.
That's pretty dope. How many attacks?
8 attacks.
8 attacks, and it's twos and twos.
If he's healthy, if he starts taking damage, then it can become like twos and threes or twos and fours.
Still, that's pretty good. Like reliably murdering stuff, especially with ward saves or that rely on ward saves. Ooh, I like it a lot. Okay. What other units are you favoring in this book?
I mean, I think the next one is probably the Skull Reapers. Just because now, like they didn't change very much.
Okay.
Um, they've always been like 4 attacks, threes and threes, but now they have one extra rend.
Okay, so they're -2 rend.
So they're -1. They were no rend before.
Oh, okay, okay, got it.
Um,
That's kind of
but
crazy
they
considering what their weapons look like, but okay,
yeah,
okay,
but on a 6 to hit they do one. This is what they did before. On a 6 to hit they do immortal in addition.
neat.
Um, and they get +1 to hit if the target unit has 5 or more models.
So
Now
they're
they're only on a 4-up save, so I think their weak point is, they could be
mm,
shot off quite
right.
easily. Um,
I think I kind of did that in our game with the trolls boulders,
yeah,
and I think
yeah.
yeah. Anyway, okay, I like it.
Um,
How many points are they for? Because they're three. So a unit of five has 15 wounds,
yeah,
right?
so they are 190 for 5.
Pretty killy.
Yeah, so I mean, and I had a list that I was thinking about where if they're in the Skullfiend tribe, you could actually have a unit of 15 of them, because
Oh,
of that battle line, right?
wow. And then they're rocking like 60 attacks, threes and threes, minus
Yeah,
one. And how much damage was it?
just 1 damage
Just
each,
one
but
damage, but they're getting the mortal wounds in addition.
yeah,
Yeah, that's pretty terrifying.
it's a lot of points to put in one unit, but it's kind of terrifying as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, at 60 attacks, you're averaging what? 10 mortal
Like
wounds?
10 mortal wounds, yeah.
Yeah, like, whoo, baby. Yeah, I like it that a lot as well. And if you spike, you're obliterating most stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Anything else that you wanted to highlight at all?
Well, I mean, the Mighty Skull Crushers on a 2-up save is pretty,
That's
like, that's
it's a great
really cool.
mobile anvil. You
Yeah, and
get
they get a 5-up ward against mortal wounds by spells. They do mortal wounds on the charge, but I don't think that's where I think they don't do a lot of damage in combat. I wouldn't
no.
look at them as they could probably clear something weak, but I think what they're there to do is like get on a point, um, take a point off your opponent, and then they've if they want to get that point back, because each one of these guys is going to count for 2 on the objective. So if you take a unit of 6, it's going to take a lot to lift them.
Right. Also, if you take even just a unit of three and you move them over where the like a monster is, then they just take it off of them,
Right.
and then they would need to kill at least one, and they're rocking a two-up save. So yeah,
Yeah.
very interesting. They're on pretty big bases, so they're not the easiest thing to maneuver around.
No.
And what's their
No.
movement?
Their movement is 8, which is
Eh,
okay.
no, it's fine. I
Yeah.
like it. Okay. I like it a lot. I would probably take at least one unit especially if I'm like rocking a mortal heavy sub faction. You know.
Yeah. I think what I would do is,
Well, you give them bronze flesh. They're rocking a one-up save.
yeah, I would stick bronze flesh on them and then throw them forward onto a point on a flank,
Yeah.
not near my opponent's the main bulk of their army, but somewhere just close enough that they might want to go deal with them. But if they do go deal with them, then they're kind of having to divide their forces a bit or something.
Or commit enough to actually take them out. Even like
Yeah, yeah,
if they send over something light, then it won't do the job anyway. And
yeah.
yeah, interesting. Okay. Um, what else? What is the bleeding?
Probably,
What does the bleeding icon do?
yeah. So the bleeding icon is what people are talking about quite a bit,
Okay.
and so again, if you summon this invocation, if you do it from the skull altar, it's going to double its range. And so right now, it has an answer value of 3 and has to be set up within 8. But then if you double that, it can be set up within 16.
Okay.
Um, and then once it's
16.
set up,
And then how far does it move?
it moves 8. So basically, it can go 24. Sorry,
Whoa. Yeah.
yeah, 24.
Threat range of 24 inches. Now, if you to double it, you have to be on top of the skull altar.
Well, you have to be garrisoned in it.
Garrison, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah,
So you garrison that, but then you've got a 24-inch threat range. That's really good, and you're re-rolling it because you're near the altar, right?
yeah.
Wow.
And so what it does is, So enemy units cannot receive the Inspiring Presence command while they're within 8 inches of it.
8 inches. Sheesh. Okay.
In addition, if a unit fails a battle shock test on a 1 to 5, they lose D3 more models. On a 6, they lose D6 extra models, and then the invocation is removed from play. So,
Wow.
I mean, I think that the other effect of extra models fleeing is it's nice, but I think mostly the way I would use this is if I can see that my enemy has a unit that's going to be hard to shift, but I know that I can do some damage to it, you know, get this invocation out there,
Yeah.
do enough do enough wounds, and then they can't do inspiring presence, and all of a sudden they're losing more models, right?
Well,
So
against something like Storm Fiends or Trolls with low bravery, high value, elite models in a unit, this is crazy. Like you could kill one troll in a unit of 6, right? And then that just takes out everyone else,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Um, yeah, it's kind of a shame that we don't have any shooting because this would be combined with good shooting. This would actually be really nasty.
Could you combine it with, for example, like do they have any damage endless prayers in?
Yeah, there's the wrath axe.
Okay, talk to me.
So that on a 2 up,
Oh, by the way,
it'll
Bleeding Icon is only 40 points, which is incredible.
yes, I'm sure it's going to change, but
I don't know. I don't know, dude. I mean, I don't know. I don't think it should.
yeah,
I think it's
no, I don't
actually
think I don't
fine.
I don't I don't
Yeah.
think any of the points should change in this book, to be
Except for
honest.
something might maybe should go down a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the wrath axe will do mortal wounds.
Okay. What does
Um
it do? Like, what are we
so it
talking
does so basically roll dice for each unit that has any models it passed across. On a 2 up, they take D3 models.
Okay. And now is it
Um
if is it passed across or with ends within 1 inch or whatever?
well, then you can pick one unit within 3 inches,
Oh,
and on a 1 nothing happens, but on a 2 to 5 they take D3 models, and on a 6 they take D6 models.
that's really good. How many points is that?
The Wrath Axe, I'm sure it's higher. It's 70 points,
Still.
which I think it's kind of steep for what it does, but
I don't think so. I think that's around good. Cause like the moon is also giving the light of the bad moon. But like if you compare it to other things like that do mortal wounds, like if you can compare it like with the mushroom, whatever the mushroom is
yeah,
for gits, because that's doing it to friendly and enemy units, and it's a
yeah.
100 points, and it's not as reliable. You know, like I think that's probably good, and it makes a really fun combo that you could be doing because most enemy units, most enemy armies rather, don't have prayer or priests to unbind them.
Right.
So they might just spend the whole game rocking around together and just doing mad damage to people. And you know what I
And
mean?
maybe there's some weird corn list you could write that everything in the list is based around doing damage at a distance
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then watching your opponent lose all their army.
yeah, exactly. And if they don't have a priest, then good luck with that. Uh, Skulls are the best invocation, hands down. Mork's mighty mushroom. Yeah, yeah. Mork's, thank you. That's what I was trying to say. Mork's mighty mushroom. Yeah, like that thing for 100 points is a joke, but still, like, you know what I mean? Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. It used to be 40 points, and like, I don't think it's even changed, Andy. And now it's 100 points.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I think I would pay 60, but I don't even know if I would pay that because it hurts my
Yeah.
guys as well. Anyway, okay. Are there any other things that you want to highlight before we go into this list?
No, let's jump to the list.
Let's do it. Okay, so I have to go back to bam. Okay, so I just set this into. I deleted the battalions just because I couldn't fit it all on one screen to show
Sure.
the nice people at home. So um, tell us about this list, Andy. What's it doing?
Okay, so it's Skullfiend Tribe, which is the one we've talked about, which means that your mortal units are going to be fighting first on a natural roll of 8 to charge.
Okay. 8
Um,
or more. Yep.
and we've got the Bloodthirster of Unfettered Fury, who's giving the 3d6 charge, so that's going to make that more likely. I've given him the command trait that makes him a priest. I've given him Bronzed Flesh. And again, the prayers, maybe the blood sacrifice is a better way to go, but
Wait, sorry. And the command trait Firebrand does what?
that's the Firebrand is one that makes him a priest.
Oh, right, right, right. Sorry. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And
So
I see.
yeah.
And then the Argath makes him ignore ward saves around him.
Yes.
And then the prayer
Yeah.
is giving the plus to the save. Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And then I've got a Slaughter Priest who's there to, in turn 1, is going to be putting out that bleeding icon.
Very cool.
And then after that, he's got Unholy Flames to give extra rend.
And so he only casts once, but what you're saying is he throws out the endless spell, and then after that's already out, you just got it. I see.
Yeah, because you're not gonna. I don't see this as an aggro list turn 1. I see this. If you look down, I've got a bunch of Blood Reavers, and Garrick's Reavers. So essentially, what I'm doing is I'm probably going to be given turn 1.
Yep.
And so then I'm going to spread out with all these Blood Reavers and the Chaos Spawn, and maybe even double wrap myself. So like have a few layers for my opponent to kind of get around.
Right.
And then sort of sitting behind all of that, I've got the Skull Reapers and the 20 Bloodletters, and the Bloodthirster as my kind of hammers.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
To basically capitalize on my opponent, kind of getting in a position where I can get into them. And then all of those little units of blood reavers are also there to potentially tie up my opponent by using Murderlust. I can kind of be annoying and just kind of tie up my opponent's units. And the 6 Mighty Skull Crushers are there to basically cap an objective, and then maybe start kind of crashing into smaller, weaker units and just kind of finishing things off, and again being kind of a nuisance. So anyway, this is very theoretical. I've tried to pack in a lot of units that are going to give me Blood Tithe when they die.
The Blood Reavers are an obvious, and Garrick's Reavers even better because they're even cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about this list is all I need is a Chaos Spawn and I can run it. So.
Wow. Really?
Yeah, pretty much all of this is painted, apart from Garrick's Reavers and the Bleeding Icon. I have those, but they're not painted. I got to paint 2 more Skull Crushers, and then get a Chaos Spawn, and I can run that list. So.
Yeah. Dan was saying apparently the rules didn't change it at all for the mushroom. Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know. I still have no idea. And then Horrible said an 80-point shaft unit that gives you Blood Tithe points. So sexy. Yeah, like that's really good. So there's 3 units of 80 that give you Blood Tithe points, right? And they could kill like a unit of like, like a small unit of whatever, like insert small weak unit here, right?
Yeah, I mean,
they could take an Unleash Hell, right?
Yeah, so they'd take an Unleash Hell, or
and then there's also Garrick's Reavers, which are another 70-point shaft unit to get a Blood Tithe point. And then there's also the Chaos Spawn Mark of Khorne for another 70-point unit that gives you a Blood Tithe point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's like 5 guaranteed Blood Tithe points right there.
And just a lot of like stuff that your opponent has to kind of go and kill.
Yep. And can get in the way.
Kill 1 unit at a time. They're gonna get in the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's super cool. I love it. And then you've got 20 Bloodletters for your hammer, like you said.
Yeah, and the 10 Skull Reapers are a good hammer too.
Another good hammer. Yeah. And they're kind of got different functions a little bit, right? Oh, they're both doing
Yeah,
mortals. They're both doing mortals.
they're kind of similar. They are
Yeah.
kind of similar.
Couldn't
Um,
you argue? Oh no, I guess you can't quite fit in 2 units of Skull Reapers because you'd be 20 points over
yeah,
instead of
so that's
taking
a
the blood.
possibility is because I'm going Skull Fiend,
Right.
you know, potentially I've got 5 more Skull Reapers, so I
Right.
could um I could drop the Bloodletters and
Right.
take 5 more Skull Reapers and then put those additional points somewhere else. But I think 20 Bloodletters is just really good.
Not only that, they're more wounds. They're 40
Yeah.
wounds as opposed to 30 wounds.
Yes, that's true.
So, yeah, and they're what? Uh how many attacks do they get?
So Bloodletters get 2 attacks now,
So there'd be 40 attacks,
and
right?
they're natural 2-inch reach. Although I mean, I would take Bloodletters in Galatian veterans
Right.
just to sort of guarantee that they're all getting in.
Oh, Dan says he's off. Thanks for joining us, Dan. Really appreciate your comments.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it. O says Reavers used to be so fighty if they were in range of Bloodsecrator. Then they
Yes.
had 3 attacks each at one rend for 80 points. Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Um, okay. So, sorry, what were you saying about Skull Reapers? I think.
Bloodletters
Oh, right.
are now they're a 2-inch reach. Um,
2 inch reach,
but
right.
but in a pack of 20, I think I would still want them in Galatian veterans just to guarantee that they can definitely all get in because for that kind of unit you really need to get the full power behind your attacks, I think.
Well, wait, isn't 2 inch reach the same as fighting too deep?
Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't, I
Oh,
think.
okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, actually, I can see that.
Yeah.
I have never done the math on that before, so I haven't really, you had a need to figure it out. But okay, so then and then you've got 6 mighty skull crushers, as you
Hmm.
said, the mobile anvil unit.
Yeah.
Um, so
And I,
let's
I would give the Skull Crushers, which is, I mean, what they have on the models they have, which is the Blood Glaive,
okay.
and that actually has a 2-inch reach, 4 attacks, fours and threes, rend 2/1 damage.
Sorry, it's 4 attacks.
4 attacks,
Yeah.
fours to hit, threes to wound,
Okay.
rend 2/1 damage.
Ren 2. Shoot. Okay.
Yeah,
That's pretty good. Like 24
yeah,
attacks. The forest to hit's a little iffy, but the
yeah. I
minus
mean, you can
2
all out
Ren.
attack for threes and threes,
Yeah, totally. Yeah, absolutely.
but I don't see the Skull Crushers like. I think against a tougher unit, you're maybe gonna do 8 or 9 wounds, maybe, and then plus the charging damage.
What's the range
Um,
on their on those attacks?
so the Bloodglaive's got 2-inch range.
So you'd
You
have
could
to
probably
turn them
get
sideways.
you probably get 4 or 5 of them in,
Right.
or
Um,
maybe all of them if you're good
they're
at.
they're kind of big bases, hey.
Yeah, it's the same thing that issue that people have, with the
I
six
could I
gold grunters, right?
What if you split them into 2 units of 3,
Mm,
and then that way that you don't have to worry about coherency, and that way you're getting 2 charge rolls, so one of them might get to you're more likely to get something that fights first.
hmm.
Also, they can go onto different areas and be different mobile anvils. I get that,
Yeah,
I think maybe especially with the change to rally, it might benefit you even more.
yeah,
They have what, 5 wounds each?
yeah,
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just a thought.
yeah, yeah.
Um, what is, I guess, the upshot to having them in 1 unit of 6 is that if you put excuse me, bronzed flesh on a unit, it doesn't cover all 6 of them. But when they're that hard to kind of get everyone in,
Mm,
you know,
yeah.
you might get more bang for your buck, more mobility. I don't know. It's just a thought.
Yeah, I think more practice games will
We'll
reveal,
reveal what
you know,
the real thing is. I
yeah,
tend to favor individual units anyway. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So that's my natural inclination. But This is a cool, this is like kind of what you are building right now and leaning towards with the models that you currently own, hey?
Yeah, and just based on kind of you know what I've seen in terms of you know games I've played recently and what you have to do to kind of face up in the current meta. I mean, we're in a Wild West meta right now, but
Totally.
I think from what I can see about how Khorne plays, I think you need a lot of ways to generate blood type. I think you need a lot of stuff for to mess up your opponent and stop them from getting into you.
Right.
And then yeah, and then I think you just win by um, good positional movement play.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. Um, I think this is yeah, I think it's really cool, man. I'll be really interested to see and hear updates from you. You know,
Sure,
how it's
yeah,
going.
yeah,
Are you thinking of playing Corn in the upcoming sort of season?
yeah. I am. I think they'll be one of the factions I'll cycle through.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I don't think I'll play them exclusively. I'm also going to play KO.
That's fair.
Because
Yeah, you've kind of had a smorgasbord lately of book releases.
yeah,
So the other thing too, like you said I won't be playing them exclusively. I don't think you've ever played an army exclusively that since I've known you.
no, I haven't. No.
And yeah, I have the same problem to a certain extent. Like when the Skaven book came
Yes.
out, I just played Skaven for like over a year. But it is hard. I find it similarly difficult to commit to one army. But
Yeah, I mean, I and actually, you know what, I know that there's a disadvantage when it comes to getting ready for a tournament
yeah,
and your head's been all over the place, but um you know I I'm more focused rather than on tournaments. I'm more focused on having a good time, trying out fun combos, and and if I do find a list that's kind of golden, then yeah, then great, I'll just keep playing that.
yeah,
That doesn't usually happen to me. I mean, usually um, I just cycle through lists and keep, you know, trying new things out, and
right.
that's how I enjoy the game.
Yeah, I mean, that's like everyone should enjoy the game how they want to. I'm not a tournament player either, so it's something like that's never been something that's bothered me. And I'm forced to play a variety of lists for the channel now, even more than I'm inclined to. So, but yeah, I mean, absolutely. It looks fun, man. I mean, but I do look forward to seeing you iterate on it, and you know what I mean. Like, and maybe you don't need
Yeah,
to. Like, maybe this is it. Like, maybe you you hit it off first hit it off your on your first go. But
I doubt it.
well, I mean, I don't think I've ever done that before
No.
in my life. So and also things change, right? With the meta, with points and updates and whatnot. Anyway, so
Yeah.
yeah. That's awesome. And did you want to add anything else?
I think that's it. I'm kind of fading, I think. So
Yep.
I've set
Uh,
my alarm for I gotta get up at 5:30 and go for a run. So
wow, you are a maniac as usual.
yeah.
It's gonna be like running for the blood god.
Yes. It's my feet that are bloody, right? Like
Yeah, exactly. your bloody feet for the blood god, and then you're on a trail and you're like, ooh, a skull for the skull throne. Take it with you. uh, another jogger's skull. Huh? What do you know? Um, uh, is there anywhere you want people to find you? Twitter or anything like that you want to promote?
no, no, not really. I mean, mainly, yeah, just I think the only plug is I'm running Kipper's Melee
Nice.
in October,
In
and
October.
then
Okay.
yeah, and then the next tournament that I'll be playing in,
Uh huh.
I think won't be until the end of August. I'm looking at doing the Northern Wastes in Prince George at
In
the end of
Prince
August.
George, I've heard great things about that. So
Yeah, so I heard that there may be like kegs of beer. Um,
so you won't be playing corn, is what you're
so
saying.
that's like my kryptonite.
Yeah, yeah. Godlike. Love it. I mean, that sounds like a blast, though. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, thanks so much for coming on, Andy. I had
thanks.
a lot of fun. Yeah, if you and if you do want to get in, if you're in the local area and you want to interact with Andy, you can certainly find us all on the local Metro Vancouver Age of Sigmar group.
Yeah.
As long as you're not a bot, you are welcome.
Yes.
So yeah. Anyway, thanks to everyone for watching. Thanks to everyone for hanging out in the chat. Some great comments in there, some great suggestions in there. And if you have anything that you want to add, put it in the comments below. I try to respond. I respond to every reasonable comment, and or not everyone. Sometimes YouTube just doesn't notify me of comments, and I discover them like 8 months later. Not my fault, but still, I apologize. And but yeah, anyway, if you like what you saw tonight, please subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks, Rob.